All right, so quick rundown of the lines so far today that I've picked up, and also taking a live look at some of the lines that are out there. First of all, I'll walk through the strategy of exactly how I look at these lines off of Oddsjam as an example. I'm going to refresh real quick, get a fresh bunch of lines that come in. All right, so I'm not going to go with this one. I already know that Caesars has pulled that one already. With it. By the way, access to Illinois books. I have Platinum Plan here at Oddsjam, and have been using it for a little less than 2 years. I want to say probably like a year and 8 months. Up about $2,000 so far. That doesn't include prize picks and other things too. I actually keep that separately logged out altogether with it. But Caruso's a good example here of exactly how I evaluate these sort of circumstances with it. So I like to have access to every single book. What that allows me to do is essentially just line shop off of what Oddsjam has, plus what I want to look at as well too. So taking a look here real quick. So largely ignoring anything where, for an example here, I'll have some books that show price picks. Obviously, you want to ignore those lines. Those lines are sort of separate in their own right by itself. But I want to look at actual books across and kind of map out where things are at. So looking at this one in particular, obviously at minus 130 for Caruso would be 9.5 over on points, rebounds, and assists today when the Bulls play the Raptors in the play-in tournament. So I'm immediately looking at all the other lines. Where does everybody else have things priced at? And looking at the counter prices to his under. Obviously at 173, 151, 167 on both of those, owned by the same company. Going to probably have the same line most often. You got Fliff having it at 135. Pinnacle says 164 is where the line should be. It's excellent value right now. And that's where I look for these particular value plays with it in particular. So this is a minus 30 as an example to that. But as an example to, like, let's say if I had access to 5 dimes, used to, can't get in the US anymore, unfortunately. So as an example to this with 5 dimes is the Bulls under first team half total of 49.5. Plus 118. So looking on the flip side of it, you got a negative 130, you got a plus 118. Again, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the lines of what everybody else prices it at. So everyone else is pricing it somewhere in the neighborhood of about 100. Pinnacle says it is 100 even, but 5 dimes says it at 118. So obviously, if I'm going to play this particular play, I could, if I chose to, look at the top lines and look at the EV value lines of, let's say, an over on this play. Which case I would probably slide somewhere into taking, DraftKings as an example. You can also kind of look at these and combine them with some of the promos that go on. For instance, I know DraftKings does give a lot of accelerated promos. For instance, they'll give you a bump on the line itself of 20 or 30% or something like that. So where this comes a really good EV parlay, EV, not a parlay, that you can play as well too with it. But if I were playing this straight up and I had access to 5 dimes, I'm going to take the plus side of things. I'm going to take that plus 118 and I'm going to grab that. It's considerable value. I mean, it's 18-point difference between what Pinnacle says, which Pinnacle's the sharpest book, and every other line. I mean, the best line possible outside of that would be Tony Bet, which I don't even know what that is. So I'm still getting a 14-point value on that one as well too in comparison to the second best line possible. It's a great line to play if you're looking into that. So that's how I base some of these plays off of with it, and I'll flip through and kind of show a couple of different things with it. So click over to my bet tracker. What have I got going on for the day? So it's been a kind of a rough slide the last couple of weeks, but that's fine. Still going to keep playing it as much as I possibly can. So you can take a look at sort of the last few statistics with it. Again, up over just a little over 2K over a year and a half, I think, total with it. So I'm chasing these closing value lines. So anytime that it hit the red, that's typically not where I want to be. Looking for those green lines all across the board with it. So I've got the Cardinals sitting there, doubled them up basically. That's an excellent value line right there. That has shifted even further in my advantage from when I claimed it. Then that Alex Caruso line that I just talked about. Again, it says 140. Again, I expect that line to push a little higher on the closing value line, which means my 130 that I claimed it at is going to be considerably good. So these are the 5 plays that I've got so far today. Now, one of the things that Oddsjam has added in, besides the odds screen, is what's called the fantasy screen. This is what I'll use for a lot of my prize pick stuff, and I'll explain how I utilize that as well too. So, prize picks, Much like betting, has been a little rough over the last few days, but that's fine. Still got time to turn it around. So what I'll look at in this particular thing is I want to see as many different books as possible to kind of base the bet off of. Now, I know this one sits at minus 144 on average on the Oddsjam average. Pinnacle hasn't that, but no other book is pricing it right now. So I typically will stay clear of that because I want to see as many lines as I possibly can. Again, try to evaluate the differences between the lines. Is somebody way off? So 160 is kind of way off compared to 124, which Pinnacle has it as. Is the line sitting closer to 140, 150, which is sort of where I think most of the books have it placed at. Let's find another good line set as an example here. So looking at Brandon Ingram, rebounds, assist points. So this is 45 and a half. So we're looking at the under on this one. So again, this is about the average right here is about 133.96. Looking at between all the lines of books, who's got it priced differently? Well, why in the world does BetMGM have that price at 110? First of all, if I'm playing that from strictly a EV standpoint, I'm going to go ahead and grab that, which I think I already did too. Let's go back and look at that, make sure I got that one. I believe I did 45 and a half points, rebounds, assists, Brandon Ingram, and I do have that, and that is BetMGM, and that's because that is a damn good play right there compared to everybody else, as you just saw. So I will line shop these prize picks ones when I claim my prize picks overall, and play these particular things. Now, one big thing to keep in mind with prize picks is it's about volume overall with it. You're not going to win all your money back in prize picks dumping 30, 40, 50 bucks if you've only got 100 in the bank on one play. There's no lock. There's no such thing as a lock in any of this stuff. It's stupid to even have these pundits and people come out and say, oh yeah, it's a lock on this particular thing. Play the odds. Keep playing as much as you can. Give yourself the best opportunity possible to eventually win money in the long haul of things. You're not going to win everything back in 1 minute. Sure, you might get lucky and you might hit that big parlay or price pick for 30 bucks and land, I don't know how much it is, a couple thousand or 1,000 or something like that off that. That's great. Congratulations. You struck gold with that. But the smarter play, the more logical play is to find good value propositions on this board. This board gives you everything you need to see off of it, where you can kind of grab what you need to do and play from that point forward.